Hi, today I want to show you some new features that are starting to roll out in Cricut Design Space. They should be coming to beta soon, and some people may already have them, but it will be a slow rollout just in case there's some unintended glitches. So we'll start with the very first page. When you open Design Space, we no longer see all of those ribbons that we used to see going across. Now there's a few less. But what we do have is these cool fast track items. So you can tell it you want to start a vinyl decal or an iron-on t-shirt or gift tags, or you can go straight to a blank canvas. Before, we used to go up here to new project. You can still do that, and you have the same options. It's just here is a little faster. So we're going to start with that. When you first open Design Space, this little image box will pop up on their side and probably load a little faster than mine. I'm going to um, let's see, let's just add a couple of things. Let's add that, and then let's close that, and I'm going to add just a little bit of text, just so we have a couple of things to play with here. Okay, now what you'll notice is here at the top, all those tools that used to be up there are no longer there. It's a lot cleaner now. We just have our rotation, our sizing, and then our arrange and align buttons. Over here, you'll notice like a little pencil icon. If you click that, all of those tools that used to be up here are now here in one window with easy access. Now notice, if I have nothing at all selected on my mat, everything over here is grayed out. Well, what that's telling me is that I don't have anything selected that I can do anything with. So let's try selecting this heart. Now I can change the position of where it sits on this. Keep in mind that only keeps it in position on here. It does not change where it will cut when you go to the cut screens. I can rotate it. I can do effects like using an offset, or I can do an effect like turning it into a sticker, or if I have access, I can play with the warp tool and maybe even warp it. Well, that's a cool new shape. Okay, that also gives us nothing down here under combine. Now, the reason for that is because there's nothing else selected. I only have one item. Because I've only got one item selected and there's nothing to contour, I have no options. But now let's say I select both of these. Now, most of these items are highlighted. I could unite them, which is sort of like welding, except you could undo. Or I could subtract, although I'm not really sure why I do that because nothing's intersecting. And you can do flatten to turn it into a print and cut. And then let's go over here and look at the text. Keep in mind that this text up here was actually an image, so that isn't going to operate the same as having a text box. Okay, I'm going to bring it up here to make it more in line with this stuff. We have the same options. We can offset, we can turn it into a sticker, we can use the warp feature, we can weld, flatten, exclude, intercept, we can do all of that. We can also curve over here. This was another tool that used to be up at the top, and now it's over here. You can select your ungrouping, so you can ungroup it to letters or lines if I had more than one line of text, or you could ungroup it to layers if I had more than one layer, like in the case of a font that comes in with multiple layers. I can also change my letter spacing and my line spacing. The only difference here is that, let me see, let me give you some new text. Let me get rid of that. Let me give you something new so that I can use 2 lines of text. Okay, now we have 2 lines of text. All right, so in line spacing, we used to be able to have a little up and down arrow to scoot them closer together. Now we don't have that. We have to enter numbers. So that's going to be a little bit of a change. But let's see, I want to go closer. So I'm going to go minus 0.1, and then I'll hit tab to see what that does. Whoops, that was letter spacing. Let's undo that. I meant to change the line spacing. Okay, so let's go we need to minus 0.5. Okay, that brought it closer together, but not quite where I want it. So now I know I need to go with a much larger number. Let's go with minus 2. Okay, that's still not enough. Minus 4. Okay, there we go. That'd be more like what I would probably like. And this is where your ungrouping can come into effect. I could ungroup this to letters so that each individual letter was its own image, or I could ungroup it into lines. And now you see my text is 2 separate lines. I'm going to undo that just in case I want to test something else. So it's going to be a learning process because obviously we're used to having all of our tools up here. But once you get used to it, I think this is going to be a huge time saver, and it's going to make things so much easier on you because everything will be over here in a nice big icon that you can actually read instead of the little tiny icons up here, and it'll make your workflow a lot smoother. Also, keep in mind that we do still have some of our features up at the top. Your unlock button and placement is still at the top. And these are your mirror images, so I can flip it left or right, or I can flip it top to bottom. And your arrange button is also still up here, so you can still bring things forward or backward. You can still, well, I could align here, let's do this. Now I can align. You can still align, you can center, align bottom, top, left, whatever, and you can still change your colors. Another new feature that apparently has been here for a while, but I missed it. Over here, down in this bottom right-hand corner, when I'm working, I like to change the color of my canvas so that the stark white isn't so stark, and I usually choose a light gray. Well, previously, you would click this down here that said background, and then you have to go up here into the middle and look for a white square that was really hard to see to change the color of the background. But they've made this an awesome change because now it's just over here. You just click background and your color palette pops up and you can make it whatever color you like. I would not be making it that color. I tend to go with light gray because that's a color I don't often work with. So no matter what I'm doing, it tends to stand out. I hope this helps you out and helps you figure out where all your tools and buttons went that you might have not seen. Happy crafting!